Hello, you guys. Welcome back to the Vinlochi podcast. Hope you're doing great. Today, we're going to talk about the inner child. Do you feel sometimes like you're not allowed to do certain things anymore because of your age? Sometimes we can have that guilty feeling when we are our funny selves, our childish energy self. And when we act that certain way, we're going to have these weird thoughts popping up in our minds like, oh my God, you're such a child. Please grow up. Maybe you have received these kind of comments from someone else. Maybe you've have had that type of reaction from the other world. And you feel bad about being yourself. You feel bad about having a good time, and you feel bad about having that you were just having some fun, and you start like thinking about a lot of stuff and thinking about yourself, having thoughts, creating thoughts, just because society is telling us we're not allowed to behave like that anymore, like a child. But what is actually acting like a child? When we say something or when we have that impulsive thoughts coming up in our minds and we're actually allowing our impulsive thoughts coming out, you'd be like, oh, what did I do? What do I do now? What did I say now? And you feel dumb for the rest of the day, right? I've just been wondering, why are we like that? Why do we feel so guilty about being ourselves, being our little self, our in our little world, Why do we feel guilty to be funny, be loud, be wild, be free, be goofy, it's just something I've been thinking about. It's something I had to figure out for myself because I had these thoughts too. And I didn't like the way I felt when I had these thoughts. I didn't like that I was actually breaking myself down, that I was actually like not being kind to myself, that I felt ashamed for my behavior just because I was happy a little too much, because I was a little too extreme, because I acted not like my age. But what is actually acting? What is actually acting like your age? If you're happy, then I've been reading, I've been thinking, and I've been making my own reasons, and I've been making my own theory about our inner child and why it's actually very nice and good to act that certain way. When we are acting like a child, it's actually our body telling ourselves that we feel safe. It's our body letting us know that we are in a good place, that we are calm, we're feeling protected, we're feeling good. We're feeling like we can be ourselves around that person or in that environment, in that place, and that we can loosen all the stress, that we can let go everything that's making us feel anxious. And when we let go all of that anxiety and all of these intrusive thoughts, we actually become our lighter self, our childish self. When you look at a child, it's in its own world, in its own bubble. It's innocent, it has that light energy and doesn't really think about all of the things we're thinking about. It's not thinking about constant danger, constant stress and anxiety and the what ifs. It's just, a child is just living. It's just being there in the moment. It's just trying, falling, standing up again. It's being happy. It's A child can laugh so hard without feeling guilty about it. A child looks up to the adults. I kind of look up to children, or actually more their spirits, their playful spirits, their playful energy. And I admit that I often still feel like a child, but I feel like I put myself in positions that I set these unhealthy boundaries. I know that boundaries should be something positive, but it can be negative as well. And when you put yourself boundaries that take away your happiness and your peace, then it's just not good, because then you're like imprisoning yourself. It's like giving you some limits. And yeah, I was thinking about that. I was thinking about that. I actually love to be my childish self, and I love to be that part of me that that I lost for a long time, because I was growing up and I learned that, you shouldn't behave a certain way. You shouldn't be that childish part of yourself anymore. Why? Because the adult world is gray. It is serious. You need to stand tall. You need to protect yourself from being vulnerable, being real, being that happy, innocent you. Because you can get attacked, because your energy can get swallowed. Your energy can get taken away. And I agree, like, you should protect your energy, but it shouldn't mean that you need to totally disconnect from your inner child. That's what I believe, because that's a huge part of yourself. It's actually a part that you've always have been, and you will always be, because it's just the smaller you, but you just grew up and you learned. You have just more experience in life, but it's still you. It's still you. And you're just ripping away that part of you. You're actually taking away a whole part of yourself. It's like not having a spirit in a body, It's weird. It's just off. It's just dead. It's when you take away all of the light and all of the spirituality, because that's also how I see my inner child. Like, then what's left is everything that's very heavy, gray, sad, anxiety, and everything that actually society wants us to behave. I could actually go very deep in this topic, but I just don't really know how, because there's a lot of thoughts coming up right now. But so like I said, the inner child is something spiritual. It is actually a sort of spiritual maturity if you can free that side of you, that kind of energy, not be afraid anymore to be your joyful, playful self, and that you're just be able to let go, be able to look up for the simplicity of life again, and to connect with the younger you. And when you think about it, that's actually what therapists try to do when they are helping you. When you're in a certain situation, when you feel a certain way, a therapist can ask you to think about the younger you, your younger self, and try to connect with the younger self. Why? Because you wouldn't be mean to your younger self, because your younger self is a huge part of you. Your younger self is is something that you cherish deep inside of you. It is something very beautiful we look at. It's a part of our past, but a beautiful part of our past that most of people find their rest in, that most of people find their warmth in. You know, that warm, nostalgic feeling when you think about just laying in grass, listening to the birds, having some cherries that your grandma prepared for you, and all the love you're receiving, or just the scenarios you created in your own fairy tale, and just be there. Just never have the feeling of being alone because you're just having your fantasy and you're just, in your own little bubble. It's just a very cozy feeling. And I think that a lot of adults are looking for that nostalgic, cozy feeling. But sometimes it's just so hard. It's so hard because we are pressured from a lot of perspectives, whether it's at work, whether it's, career-wise, whether it's in finding happiness, finding peace, whether it's in relationships. There's always pressure. There are always rules we need to follow up. We can't do this. We can't do that. We can't behave like this or like that. It's funny because all we can do is just breathe and make the best out of it, And when I say relationships, like even when you are watching these advices about relationships, you can hear that person saying, like, think about the younger self. Would you have a partner like this for your younger self, like in the future? You wouldn't want a partner that doesn't listen to you. You wouldn't want a partner that isn't emotional connected and that doesn't put effort in you and the relationship. You wouldn't want that for your younger self. So why are you allowing this to your now self, to your adult self? Like, think about it. Reflect on it. Like, why would you do that? What changed? Yes, you evolved. Yes, you changed and all this kind of stuff, but you're still that younger self. It's also like having the dream of becoming a parent and having that dream to have your own children one day. You can see it in all different kind of ways, but how I also see this is that becoming a parent is for us a way to relive our own childhoods and, play with our kid, give the most beautiful toys, being happy to even hold a toy of your kid because you'd be like, oh my God, this is so fun. This is so, this reminds you of the simple days back then. And you actually enjoy playing with your kid. You're able to just sit down with your kid, take time to, draw, paint, things that maybe you wouldn't normally do anymore because sometimes there can be moments where you'd be like, why should I even waste time to sit down and draw? I should be cleaning the house. I should be watching adult series. I should be cooking. There are some chores to do, and as an adult, we have some duties, but it doesn't mean that we should neglect our happiness and neglect our own little moments, and that we are not allowed to read that book that actually is meant for children? Like, why would you stop and hold yourself back of buying that book you wanted to read just because there is a limited age written on the book? Like, why would that hold you to read that book? Because it's not for you? Because you're an adult now and you should be reading very heavy psychological books, self-help books, self-development books. Like, you're free. You're able to do anything you would like to do. If you would like to make some bracelets, make some bracelets. There is no age to do certain things. There is no age to play, to enjoy, to be creative, to just sit down and try something new. There is no age. Like, I really hope I am still my childish self when I'm 50. Like, it's beautiful to see. And that I will still have like these silly, weird, nonsense jokes. That I'm still sometimes like a little impulsive, and that I still be like giggly and laugh about everything, and that I get nervous, and that I'm a little shy, and that I need attention, and I need a lot of love, and that I like simple things like being barefoot in the grass, in the sand, making even sand castles. It's so fun to do. Well, I never do it because I don't live very close to the beach, but I would love to make some sand castles. And I do still watch cartoons because it's just a way for me to disconnect from the adult world, the busyness, and to see something with a lot of colors. And it's just fun. It's just, I don't know, I like it. And I really hope that I will still be my playful, giggly, goofy self at every age. And that I will not ever excuse myself, and that I will not ever feel bad again for behaving a certain way. Just because I was happy in that moment, and because I was actually wanting to say that. And, you know, I know it can be hard sometimes that when you say something you're really proud to say, or when you say something that you mean, and a certain person doesn't react nicely, of course, these thoughts are willing to pop up into your mind and you will feel bad. But please don't feel bad anymore. If you feel bad, it's just not your person. It's just not your person. It's not worth it. Like, it's sad of that person reacting a certain way because it's childish. It's a childish response to give to a certain question. I don't know. Like, you shouldn't hide yourself. You shouldn't. I think like if a person reacts a certain way to a response you give that actually makes you happy and that you actually like, it's like breaking, then I think that person isn't very mature at that moment. And I think that that person isn't really open-minded. And that's a little sad, but, you know, that doesn't need to affect you. That doesn't need to be the reason you shouldn't like it anymore. You know? Everyone's taste is different. Everyone's interests are different as well. Another thing I would like to address is that there is a reason. There is a reason why people attempt to run away from the adult world when they are stressed. They run away, they go hike, they go walk in nature, they disconnect, they sit and talk with their loved ones, they play games. it's all fun because it's simple. And accepting your inner child is actually also reconnecting with simplicity, with peace, with nature, with the earth, just getting back down to earth, getting back to safety, coziness, just laying back. If we admit it or not, we will always try to connect with our inner child, even though we don't see it or associate it with that. But it's just a natural way of dealing with certain things, dealing with a lot of chaos, dealing with a lot of stress. It's embracing the natural. And let me closure this episode with something that I read in a nice book I'm reading right now. The book is called The Art of Seduction. And as I said, embrace the natural has actually something to do with what I read in the book. Okay. As you may know or not know, The Art of Seduction is actually a book that explains all types of all ways of seducing, seductive arts. And believe it or not, that childlike, joyful playfulness is actually a way of seducing. So see it as a power, because it is a huge power, and it also is something freeing. It's something beautiful. And let me read what they actually say about the natural. Let me read it for you. Childhood is the golden paradise we are always consciously or unconsciously trying to recreate. The natural embodies the longed-for qualities of childhood: spontaneity, sincerity, and preciousness. In the presence of naturals, we feel at ease, caught up in their playful spirit, transported back to that golden age. Naturals also make a virtue out of weakness, eliciting our sympathy for their trials, making us want to protect them and help them. As with a child, much of this is natural, but some of it is exaggerated, a conscious seductive maneuver. Adopt a pose of the natural to neutralize people's natural defensiveness and infect them with helpless delight. And isn't that beautiful? It also reminds me of that day my friend came to me and we had that deep conversation. And she explained to me that she noticed that as soon as she walks into the room and see her dearest friends, that her friends get that huge smile on their faces, and that they get from very calm and serious and stiff to actually very playful, crazy, and free. And I told her that she's a kind of person that wakes up that joy, that wakes up that sparkle, and that wakes up that inner child inside of others just by being themselves and their presence, that they light up a room. And I think that's very beautiful. So if there is something that you learned out of my episode, is that just be yourself, don't be afraid to be a little silly. And that is actually a very beautiful thing. All right, you guys, thank you so much for listening. And I'm also very happy that you made it till the end. And we see each other in a next episode.